Miles stands at the threshold of Rachel's room, his heart heavy with the kind of silence that memory leaves behind. He hasn't been here since the day she was gone. For years, he's avoided this door, afraid that walking through it would mean facing what he never truly said goodbye to. He runs a hand across the shelf where her books still rest, untouched. His fingers stop on the paper garden, her favorite. The one she read when the world was slipping from her grasp. He pulls it out, his breath unsteady, and as he opens it, a folded piece of paper falls into his hand. The handwriting, her handwriting, stares back at him, gentle, slanted, and painfully familiar. If you find this, it means I did not get the chance to tell you. There was a woman. Her name is Elena Brooks. She saved me. Please find her. Tell her she mattered. The words hit like a slow collapse. His chest tightens, his fingers tremble. For years, he believed he had already lost everything there was to lose. But now, in her voice, written years ago, she gives him one last unfinished story. He whispers her name, Elena Brooks, as if saying it might summon the truth out of thin air. Who was she? Why had Rachel never spoken of her? What did she mean by, save me? Miles sinks into the chair by the bed, the same one where he used to sit and hold her hand through the nights that stretched endlessly long. The letter lies open on his lap, shaking in his grip. For the first time in years, grief isn't quiet. It's alive, breathing, asking questions he's afraid to answer. Rachel had hidden this secret inside the pages of her favorite book, and now, it's all he can think about. He reads the letter again and again, until every curve of her handwriting feels carved into his chest. And in that moment, he realizes, grief isn't the end of love. It's the beginning of something he's still meant to find. Miles sits before the faint glow of his laptop, the letter beside him like a heartbeat he can't ignore. His fingers hover over the keys, trembling with something he hasn't felt in years, purpose. He types the name slowly, Elena Brooks. The screen fills with fragments of a life. A nursing license. A faded hospital record. A clinic address tied to a small town he's never heard of, Briar Hill. Just seeing the name stirs something restless inside him. He leans back in his chair, staring at the search results, his mind racing with questions he can't yet form. For 5 years, grief was a routine, quiet, predictable, lifeless. But this feels different. This feels like movement. He closes the laptop, the decision already made before the thought even finishes. His world has been made of boardrooms, flights, and numbers, but now, none of it matters. Not when Rachel's voice, her plea, still echoes in his chest, please find her. He throws a few things into a suitcase. Every motion feels mechanical, but under it, there's something alive. He doesn't know what he's chasing, forgiveness, truth, or maybe just a trace of the woman he lost. But he knows he has to go. As he grips the letter one last time, he whispers, I'll find her, Rachel. I promise. There's no hesitation, no plan, just a man following the faint trail his wife left behind. The world outside blurs into motion, the hum of tires, the faint rhythm of his thoughts. In the dim reflection of the car window, his face looks older, heavier, but for the first time, not empty. He doesn't see himself as a CEO tonight. He's a husband chasing the last truth his wife ever gave him, a ghost named Elena Brooks. And somewhere down that long stretch of highway, grief turns into resolve. Miles stands before the small house, holding the letter like a lifeline. His pulse quickens as he raises his hand to knock. The door opens halfway, and for a moment, time hesitates. Elena Brooks stands there, hair pulled back in a messy knot, dark circles beneath her eyes, wearing worn scrubs that tell a story of long hours and quiet exhaustion. She looks younger than he expected, yet her eyes carry years she never lived. He clears his throat, voice low but steady. My name is Miles Brennan. I think you knew my wife, Rachel. The air between them changes. Her posture straightens, shoulders tense. Whatever warmth lingered in her expression vanishes in an instant. "I don't do interviews," she says sharply. "And I don't want to talk about her." Miles steps forward slightly, desperate but controlled. "I just found a letter," he says quietly. "She wrote your name. She said you saved her." The words hang in the space between them, heavy, searching. For a heartbeat, she doesn't move. Then her eyes shift, not cold, but guarded, like someone who's learned that remembering hurts more than forgetting. "I didn't save her," she replies, voice almost a whisper. "And I don't need your thanks." Before he can respond, she begins to close the door. Miles doesn't stop her, he just watches, seeing something flicker behind her calm, something that feels a lot like guilt. The door closes softly, not cruelly, as if she's protecting both of them from a truth neither is ready to face. Inside, he can hear the faint echo of a child's voice calling, "Mommy." And outside, he stands still, the letter in his hand now feeling heavier than ever. One woman holds the truth about his wife's last breath, but she's determined to bury it with her own past. Days pass in uneasy quiet. Miles tells himself he's leaving soon, yet somehow he doesn't. He drives by the preschool every morning, convincing himself it's coincidence, until one afternoon, he sees her again. Elena stands by the gate, arms crossed, watching the stream of children rush out. Beside her, a little girl with bright eyes and a pink backpack runs up, clutching a drawing. Miles recognizes the smile instantly, it's the kind that could melt even the heaviest day. Maisie looks up, spots him across the street, and tugs on her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, that's the sad man from the door." Elena's head turns sharply. Their eyes meet. She doesn't wave, doesn't frown, just nods once, cautious but not unkind. Later that week, Miles finds himself at the park, telling himself he's there to clear his head. But when he sees Maisie again, struggling with tangled shoelaces, her little hands fighting stubborn knots, something in him moves before thought does. He kneels beside her, voice soft. "May I help you?" Maisie nods. He fixes the laces, gentle, patient. When he's done, he hands her a tissue, wiping away the dirt from her palms. "There. All better," he says with a faint smile. She studies him, serious for a moment, then whispers. "Thank you, mister." By the time Elena arrives, he's already stepped back, giving them space. She sees the scrape on Maisie's knee, sees the man beside her daughter, and her expression shifts, wary at first, then something quieter. "I didn't mean to step in," Miles says quickly. Her reply is barely above a breath. "Thank you." It's the first time she's ever said it. That night, as Miles unlocks his door, he notices an envelope resting on the step. Inside is a child's drawing, a man standing in the rain, holding something invisible, as if waiting for what can't return. He stares at it for a long time, unable to move. For the first time since Rachel's letter, the ache inside him feels less like grief, and more like the fragile beginning of understanding. The next morning, Miles finds himself at the small market in town. He's walking through the aisles when he spots her, Elena, standing by the coffee shelf, holding two different brands. One cheap, one not. She hesitates, her thumb tracing the price tag, and before she can decide, he steps forward. Without a word, he takes the bag from her hand and sets it on the counter with his own. When she notices, her brow furrows. "You think I need help?" Miles meets her gaze, calm and steady. "I think you deserve better coffee." The words hang between them, quiet and unforced. She doesn't smile, doesn't thank him, but she doesn't put it back either. The cashier slides the bag into her hands, and she simply walks away, leaving the faintest trace of confusion and something softer, almost like warmth. Later, as the afternoon fades, the rain returns. Not loud, not wild, just the kind of rain that feels like memory. Miles sits by the window, the same letter open on the table beside him. Every drop outside feels like Rachel whispering through the years, pushing him towards something he doesn't yet understand. A knock interrupts his thoughts. He opens the door to find Maisie standing there, clutching a new drawing wrapped carefully in plastic. Her shoes are wet, her cheeks flushed. "This is for you," she says shyly. He kneels down, unfolding the paper. 3 figures stand beneath a tiny roof, 2 tall, 1 small, and rain falls all around them. But none of them are wet. "I drew rain," she explains softly, "but they're not getting wet because they're close together." Miles's voice catches. "It's beautiful, Maisie." She beams, then glances behind her. Elena stands a few steps away, umbrella in hand. Their eyes meet for a brief, wordless moment. She doesn't speak. She doesn't need to. That look, quiet, uncertain, but no longer closed, says what words can't. The wall between them isn't gone. But for the first time, it has begun to crack. The storm hits harder than anyone expected. By morning, Miles notices water dripping from the corner of Elena's porch when he passes by. He pauses only a second before turning back. This time, he doesn't overthink it, he just shows up, toolbox in hand. When Elena opens the door, her voice is guarded. "I didn't ask for help." Miles meets her eyes, calm but firm. "You have a leak." She exhales, almost a sigh. "I know how to use a hammer." He doesn't move. He just waits. And after a long moment, she steps aside. Maisie's at a friend's house. Miles nods once, takes the hint, and gets to work. An hour later, soaked and exhausted, he steps inside to dry off. Elena gestures toward the back room. "There's a towel in the closet," she says quietly. He nods and walks down the hall, pushing open a door, the wrong one. It isn't a closet. It's a cramped little room stacked with boxes, a lamp, a folding chair, and a book lying open on a desk. He doesn't mean to look. But the name catches his eye, Rachel Brennan. His breath falters. "Do not read that," Elena's voice snaps from behind him. Miles turns. She stands in the doorway, arms tight across her chest, eyes sharp but trembling. "I wasn't." "I know what it is," she cuts in. "And I know what you're thinking." He waits, silent. Elena swallows hard, her voice low but steady. "I broke protocol. Your wife started seizing 30 minutes after surgery. The doctor in charge had left. No one wanted to act without orders, but she was crashing. I used medication from another case. I started CPR. I shocked her heart. After 20 minutes, she opened her eyes. Her voice falters. Just for a while." Miles stares at her, stunned. She was awake. Elena nods, tears building. "She held my hand and whispered your name. She smiled. I think she knew. I think she was ready." The silence after feels endless. Miles looks down at the logbook, then back at her. "You gave her back to me," he whispers. Elena's chin trembles. "They fired me. Said I was unfit. I didn't care. I'd do it again." And for the first time since Rachel's death, Miles feels something break open inside him, not grief, not anger, but gratitude so fierce it hurts. He doesn't step closer. He doesn't speak again. He just looks at her, this woman who risked everything to give him a final goodbye. The woman he sought for answers has carried the secret that destroyed her own life, and gave him one last moment with his wife. Elena pours her tea, hands trembling slightly. I had an affair," she admits, voice barely above a whisper. "With a resident at the hospital. I got pregnant. He left. Abandoned me." She looks down. "When I found out, he looked at me like I ruined his life." Miles doesn't speak. He just listens. Fully. Every word sinking in, respect quietly growing. After a long pause, he says, I see someone who gave my wife a chance to say goodbye. Elena lifts her gaze. For the first time, their eyes meet. Fully. Truly. She feels seen. Later, Maisie's small voice breaks the silence. Mom. I think he likes you. Alone in the dark, Elena's lips curve into a faint, fragile smile. The next day, Elena sits across from Miles, but the air is tight. She hears a snippet of conversation, someone mentioning his plan to name a new clinic after Rachel. Her chest tightens. She turns to him. You didn't come here for me. You came to ease your conscience. Miles flinches. That's not fair. Their voices rise. Grief, pride, guilt collide in sharp, raw edges. Elena's eyes glisten with anger and sorrow. Maybe your kindness is just another way to avoid your own grief. Without another word, she stands and walks into the rain, leaving him silent and unmoving. Alone, Elena lets herself fall apart. Years of holding in pain crumble in silent, shuddering sobs. Maisie finds her, small arms wrapping around her mother. I'm okay, baby, Elena whispers, voice breaking, but she isn't. Miles sits in his apartment, staring at nothing. Numb. Lost. The city feels hollow without her. Days pass. Silence stretches. Then, a knock at the door. His attorney stands there, hand extended with an envelope. He opens it. Inside, a letter from Rachel. Her final words hit like a storm, shaking every belief he held about loss, love, and forgiveness. Miles sits alone, the envelope trembling in his hands. He unfolds Rachel's letter. Her words are fragile but powerful, each one cutting through the numbness he's carried for months. Elena didn't just save my life. She gave me the goodbye I thought I'd never have. He feels it in his chest, a sharp ache, a memory flooding back, the hospital room, her hands, her courage. The woman he barely understood had done something he could never forget. If you find her, forgive her. Maybe she's the one to remind you your heart still beats. He closes his eyes. The guilt, the sleepless nights, the endless what-ifs, they all crash over him. But something shifts. The grief that has pinned him down begins to dissolve, replaced by a quiet, burning resolve. Rachel understood. She wanted him to find peace. She wanted him to find Elena. For the first time in months, Miles allows himself to hope. The next morning, Miles drives back to Briar Hill. In his hand, the envelope with the deed to the small house he bought months ago, a home he had imagined only for them, even when he wasn't sure he would get the chance. Rain falls softly around him as he stands at Elena's porch, each drop echoing the tremor in his chest. He breathes in, steadying himself, and finally speaks. I was wrong. This isn't about Rachel anymore. You and Maisie, you are home. You've always been home. Elena's hand hovers on the doorknob. Her chest tightens, her mind spinning between caution and longing. For a long moment, silence stretches between them. Then, slowly, she opens the door. Miles steps inside. The door closes behind him. No words, no explanations, just presence, just the beginning of trust and healing. They stand there, finally breathing in the same space, letting the quiet speak the words neither could say before. The new clinic, Rachel's hope, is alive with laughter, progress, and recovery. Elena walks its halls, her steps confident, her shoulders no longer weighed down by guilt or fear. She smiles at the staff, greets patients with warmth, her presence steady and full of life. Miles returns every weekend. His hands are steady, his voice calm, his eyes always on her and Maisie, present in a way he never allowed himself before. Maisie sits on the floor with crayons, carefully drawing 3 figures under a red roof. Rain falls around them, but none of them are wet. She labels it in her careful handwriting. Our family. Elena kneels beside her, her fingers brushing Miles's as she reaches for his hand. Her eyes glisten, full of unspoken emotions. For the first time, she doesn't pull away. She lets herself believe in what they have built together. Outside, rain begins again, soft, endless, steady. Not a storm, but a promise. A promise that the past is forgiven, that hearts can heal, and that everything still unwritten is theirs to write. Miles and Elena hold each other's hands a little tighter, Maisie between them, and for the first time, the three of them feel the quiet certainty of home.